Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of July, day 270 of the October 7th war. A short update from me first, and then over to your questions. First, on our hostages, 120 of them, among them children, women, and the elderly, almost 9 months now. Yesterday, I reminded you about Shiri Bibas, aged 32, the mother of Ariel and Kfir Bibas, children, child hostages. Today, I want to remind you that their father, Yarden Bibas, aged 34, is also a hostage. Are they being held together? Look at him, please. Say his name, Yarden Bibas. 270 days. An innocent family, hostages in the hands of a death cult. Look at the innocent Gazan civilians surrounding him, hitting him, punching him, slapping him. See the impartial Gazan media filming him, the same Gazan media that feeds Al Jazeera, the BBC and CNN. We want to make this clear that Israel will not rest until all 120 are brought home. Hamas are eliminated together with their terrorist threat to Israel, and we will return our residents securely to their homes in the south and the north. Now to the sad news of IDF casualties, 674 since the start of the war. Sergeant Uri Yitzchak Haddad was 21 years old from Beersheba. He was killed in battle in southern Gaza. Sergeant First Class in the Reserves Yehuda Ghetto was 22 years old from Pardes Chana. He fell in the area of Jenin in an operation against terrorists. Major in the Reserves Eyal Avnion was 25 years old and from Hod HaSharon. He fell in combat in the center of Gaza. And Master Sergeant Reserves Nadav Elchanan Knoller was aged only 30 and from Jerusalem. He fell during combat in central Gaza. There are no words of mine that can assuage the pain of their parents and their families. We embrace them and those dear families who have lost precious heroes, sons and daughters in this war for our very existence. The price of war is heavy and painful. Each casualty is a world unto itself. May their memories be a blessing forever. Next to Gaza, IDF operations against terrorists in Shajaya, in Rafah, and in central Gaza are ongoing. Inside the tunnels of Rafah, where the UN and others implored us not to go, the IDF found Islamic Jihad's largest long-range rocket production facility. It was in the Tel al-Sultan area in Rafah. Islamic Jihad manufactured hundreds of rockets at this site over the past few years. It is no more. It is being destroyed by the IDF. Elsewhere in Gaza, Israel's air force and ground troops are eliminating the Hamas and Islamic Jihad army. Dozens of terror sites above ground, below ground are being dismantled. Tunnel shafts, weapons storage facilities, large amounts of weapons, AK-47s, military vests, military equipment, structures from which an anti-tank missile were fired at our troops, around 100 terrorists, all eliminated. It seems that some still need to be reminded that Hamas are a terrorist organization. They systematically violate international law. They use civilian infrastructure and the civilian population as human shields, but nothing will save them. As the Prime Minister made clear yesterday, we are advancing to the end of the stage of eliminating the Hamas terrorist army, and we will continue striking its remnants. Now an update from Kogat and their work coordinating aid into Gaza over the last 24 hours. 303 trucks of aid trucks went in, 264 via Kerem Shalom, 39 via the Erez crossing, and in terms of aid collection, only 186 aid trucks were collected by the hapless United Nations aid agencies and other private sector contractors. The contents of over 1,200 aid trucks is waiting, just languishing in the sun, to be collected from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom. The contents of 5,125 pallets are also waiting to be picked up from the famed Jalot's port on the Gazan side. Since the beginning of this war, over 38,212 trucks, to be precise, have been delivering 716 105 tons of humanitarian aid. They've all entered Gaza. So that's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you'd put in the chat together with your news outlet. First question here is from Bashar from the Vieri news agency. Will the government of Israel sign a ceasefire deal with Hamas and release or exchange hostages from both sides, or what will be the situation? Look, on the thank you very much for that question, Bashar. On that question, look, here at the so regarding our sacred mission of freeing our hostages, there is no change in Israel's position on the release outline that President Biden has welcomed. Today, I think almost everyone knows this simple truth. It is Hamas, and Hamas alone, that is the only obstacle to the release of our hostages. With the combination of diplomatic and military pressure, the latter first and foremost, we will return them all 120 hostages, the living and the deceased. Hamas is the one preventing a hostage release deal and continues to unreasonably demand that the IDF exit the Gaza Strip and end the war in a way that leaves the Hamas reign of terror intact, which will simply enable it to repeatedly commit atrocities such as the October 7th massacre. We know that Hamas are akin to Nazis. They will not stop until they are able to commit October the 7th again, but we are here to stop them. We've made our views on this abundantly clear. Thank you. There was another question at the top there from Mike. If you can share with me your news outlet, then I'll be happy to take your question. In the meantime, question from Joel Pollack. The Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel has effectively lost sovereignty in northern Israel. Do we agree on that subject? Thank you very much for that question, Joel. Look, when it comes to the northern Israel, this is a completely unsustainable situation. We will continue to act against Hezbollah aggression. We will use all means necessary, and I mean all means necessary, to restore security on our northern border and safely return all of our citizens to their homes. We want to make this clear that the state of Lebanon and the Hezbollah terrorist organization, which we know is operating under the guidance of Iran — this is Iran on our border, we know that fact all too well — they both bear responsibility for the deterioration of the security situation in the north, in violation of UN Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1701. One way or another, either through diplomacy or through military means, our armed forces are ready. We've made that clear. We've made no secret of that fact. Our armed forces are preparing, and they are ready for all types of warfare, for mountainous warfare, for air warfare, for dealing with the tunnel threat from Hezbollah. For every single scenario, we will defend this country. The north of Israel, Israel's sovereign territory, will be allowed to be — it is Israel, and our residents will be allowed to return home. Of that, no one should be in any doubt. Thank you. Question from Jim Williams of Zenga. The question is, two of Israel's principal allies, France and the UK, are amidst elections that appear to be shifting their country's foreign policy philosophies. Is the Prime Minister worried that these changes are occurring at an inopportune time for the Jewish state, considering the war with Gaza and the aggression of Iranian proxies? Thank you very much for that question, Jim. So, of course, as is the norms amongst international relations, amongst democracies, elections are the sovereign affair of the country in question. The British parliamentary election, the general election happening on July the 4th, that is a matter for the British people. And of course, the French second round of their elections happening this Sunday. Whatever the results, Israel will, of course, respect those results. We, of course, pay tribute to all fellow democracies carrying out elections in their own time amongst their people. So it is a matter for those individual countries how they vote. We've seen movements of the political movements moving this way and that way, but I think all leaders understand that we here in Israel, and the message we give to all leaders who are victorious in these elections, is Israel is on the front line of this battle. And whether in London or in Paris, all leaders, British and French leaders, should be under no illusion that we're on the front line of this battle. We're fighting this terrorist outrage. I happened to be in London during the October 7th terrorist activities. I saw that red London double-decker bus with its roof peeled off like a tin of tuna. Those were methods learnt here on the streets of Jerusalem and on the streets of Tel Aviv and elsewhere in Israel. We know that these terrorist outrages which have taken place against our people here in Israel, if we don't defeat them here, then they will come onto your shores as well. So we know that we're on the front line of this extremist terrorist action, and that is why we understand that this is a battle for our survival, and we will be victorious. No one should be in any doubt about that. Further question from David Clement from the News Forum. We know the eastern half of Khan Yunis has been ordered to be evacuated. Can you explain how civilians are notified on where to flee to? Thank you very much for that question, David. In the past, when we've had to notify civilians to move out of harm's way, we have done it through leaflets in Arabic, on radio broadcasts in Arabic, on the internet, with text messages, with phone calls, thousands of them, sometimes millions of them. That is the way we get people to move. And we've been extremely clear. Our armed forces have made clear where the action will take place, and we don't want ordinary civilians to be caught in the crossfire, which is why we ask them to move out of harm's way, as we have always done. And the next question is from Mike at CNN. If you could go to the top there. Thank you. Can you comment on the story that army generals are in favour of about munitions and army generals making different representations? Thank you very much for that question, Mike. Look, we here in the government of Israel are well aware of the terrorist threat that we face. We have made contingency plans. Yes, it is true that this is the longest war since our War of Independence in 1948. Yes, it is true that this is not a war that we expected or a war that we wanted, but it is nonetheless a war which we are facing. And Mike, you should be in no doubt that this is a war for our very existence. I don't think that understanding gets through to lots of the international media. We are fighting for our very survival here. When these terrorists organized by Iran say they wish to wipe us off the map, we believe them. When Jew haters tell us that they want to kill Jews, history has taught us to take them seriously. We do take them seriously. We are ready, Mike, we are equipped, and we will do whatever is necessary to face down these terrorists in the north, in the south, and any one of the other 7 fronts of which we're fighting with this war. We know that Iran is behind this terrorism. We know that these are effectively Iranian troops on our northern border, which is why we will see down these terrorists and we will be victorious. Okay, that looks like the last question. So thank you very much for joining us. In the meantime, please do stay safe. Thank you for joining us again, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Djobnik signing off.